Oh yeah, I'm back at this again. First video kind of ended by just going through the parts I'm going to stick into the saw, you know. And I have some parts that I bought, and I got some that were sent to me from Hyway for me to look at. And a few of those parts, as I had mentioned in the last video, I think are going to be a significant improvement on the saw. A lot of people ask me, well, geez, you know, what about the Farmertec bearings and seals? Well, at this point in time, I'm just going to use the ones that came in the cases because I really don't have a reason not to. You know, theoretically, you can get better bearings, and you know, it might make sense to go OEM on some of those parts. But for this particular project, that wasn't the goal, and I'm not going to. I'm testing specific parts from Hyway and from another vendor, not quite sure who it is. Got it through HL Supply, you know, in that crankshaft. Okay. Okay, I'm going to upgrade this muffler from a maybe to a must-buy. Well, I said it's a must-buy for a person who's going to use it professionally. You're making a living out in the national forest because of the spark arrestor screens. But this is a really nice put-together part. It really is. Yeah, at some point I'm going to hack all that out of there, but for now we're just going to put it on the way it was designed and delivered. And a couple things about this muffler I like. Obviously it's got a gasket, that's really cool. But this guard right here, when you're rolling your saw into the log, you know, I've seen guys with those front, where they hack, you know, they cut out the front of the muffler and they put a screen there. I never liked those mufflers. That's a very common muffler mod that you used to see in some of the builders. But you roll that into the log, guess what? You're, you know, you're closing off that hole. Where this kind of keeps the saw muffler away from the log, you know, so you don't ever clog it up totally. That's a plus. The reason why I'm going to use it as is I'm going to assume that this is an engineered part. You know, so it looks really nice, and I'm just going to put it together right the way it is. So let's do that. That's about as tight as I dare. See how much this springs. Yeah, see, I'm going to have to die grind that. The dangerous part of this, or the hard part of this, is getting the spring on there. And I've basically made a tool to make that a little easier for me, you know. But that there has to be at least at the center line. See how that is? That is completely unacceptable. Sits in there like this. And I just ground on this for a while to make that a little thinner. And I can hook in there in the muffler. Like that. See it? And after that, then the cover goes on. This cover right here. And that, for the most part, holds things in place. All right, there you go. I'll line it up with that. Okay. Need a sprocket. There's a sprocket, 7-tooth. And I believe that goes like this. And then the clip goes underneath. I have a feeling that once that gets in there, that is going to be a bugger to get out. Well, I don't know how much I missed, but I ran out of battery. And I ended up having to shim. I don't know if you can see that. Had to shim the end of this. And while I got this apart, stick some grease right down in there. Yeah, add a little bit of life to it. And I make the shims out of this stuff right here. That's K&S Precision Metals number 8129 round brass tube, 3/16 by .014. I've got to open that up a little bit so that that will fit down inside. I've done that a variety of ways, from die grinder to using a punch with a taper and tapping it. But that's what I use. That's what it looks like. I was not able to use the Hyway parts. A little disappointed I couldn't use the Hyway parts there. I thought that would be having a little bit better material would be nice, Not to be. They won't fit. I'm kind of curious to see if the Farmertec covers can actually work. One of the things we figured out with Matt's working on the saws is that these covers don't grip hard. See, I think that's going to work. Yeah, see, they've countersunk them now. That's a better part. Farmertec has improved their part there. I'm just going to start tossing those. Those aren't Hyway, but they're definitely a better brand. I don't know what they are. Alright. I think it's time to put the handle on. Now I can tell you the Hyway intake manifold is definitely more supple, more compliant. See it poking through. The best way to deal with that is just to grab a pair of pliers and yank on it. Pop when it comes through, and that's it. It's ready for carburetor now. These ones here that are a little shorter, They have that very coarse thread, but they're a little shorter. They're the ones that go in here. Got 2 packages. The handle ones are a little bit longer. See them? Go ahead and put the ignition on. There we go. Alright, now, ignition. I'm going to guess it's those 2 screws right there. Before I get too excited, I'm going to check and see if I've got spark, you know. There is spark. So I'm going to need to gap this plug. Yeah, it's a little tight. Right about there. So we have now. That's spark. Alright. What's really left. I mean, really all there is the covers and intake, right? But I think I'm going to leave it right there for tonight. So what we've done here, that seems to work. It's got the Hyway pop-up piston inside a Farmertec cylinder. It's got a Hyway pull start. It has another brand crank and bar studs. It's got a Hyway muffler, Husqvarna decomp, and it's got a Hyway clutch and bar oil pump. So it's got some different parts, and this should be a more reliable build. That's the goal. What I'm going to do is put together this as a video. My impressions are the parts, they look nice. I think the only part that I had an issue with is the muffler, and that hole in the case hole didn't line up properly, so I had to work on that just a little bit. But I've got high hopes. I'm a little disappointed that these didn't work. How's that? That was the downside. I thought they were going to work fine, but they don't. I'm going to have to work on that some. Oh yeah, it has a Hyway intake. The Hyway intake boot feels more pliable, you know. It feels more like the OEM rubber you get from Husqvarna or steel. So Now, of the parts on this saw that right off the bat, before I even get too far into it, I'm going to recommend pull start for sure, like I've said a couple of times. The muffler, the jury's out on that piston because it doesn't have the those right there. It goes straight down and has a square edge right there. So I'm kind of curious to see how it lasts. Obviously the Husqvarna decomp, always. Boy, that compression's high. Always do that, regardless, you know. And I have said it a couple times, but that muffler I think is an absolute win right there, especially for the guys who are going to work with them for real. The piston's what's going to get your attention, but on the whole, it's the least important of the upgrades on this saw. Once the hype is, you know, ingested and the saws run for a while, the mystery goes away. Then it goes back to things like this. You use the pull start every time to start that saw. You know, having a nicer pull start is a big deal. That muffler with the spark arrestor screens, you know, allows you a performance increase, possibly. It allows you to get into the woods, you know, in the national forest and things like I said. Bar oil pump, jury's out. Crank, we're going to see. I don't know how that's going to play out. We're going to find out. A lot of the stuff on this saw, we just have to wait and see how it performs, you know. But I'm going to leave it at that. I'm going to give you a preview. I got back yet another cross top end. On this one, I set up the lathe and decked it. And I have also machined a pop-up for this. Okay. We're going to build another set of cases with this cross performance top end with a pop-up, and I know it's square because I decked it. I'm waiting on the other crank. I'm going to get a different crank, but the Hyway seals and some better bearings. So the next build after this one right here is going to have the same crank this one has, but we're using the Hyway seals and gasket, and it's going to get this cross performance top end with a pop-up. How you like that? Stay tuned if you find that interesting. I think tomorrow is going to be first start, break in, and test and tune, assuming the weather cooperates and I don't have to go out in the plow truck.